I figured it is time to talk about the Warlock phase 3 runes that we know so far, because I think it is a great excuse to run some numbers on it and see how much damage Warlocks are gonna be doing. Little spoiler, a lot. The usual disclaimers go here, guys. Blizzard likes making fake data mines to mess with data miners, so we are not guaranteed that we're gonna see all the runes that we see here. At the same time, also these runes are subject to 25 nerfs and buffs over the course of development, depending on how much time Agren spends on Twitter. Okay, so let's go over the rune that is the big one that everybody is talking about right here, Pandemic. This rune will make it so every tick of your dots are gonna be capable of critting. So if we are going down into the talents, you're gonna see here in Destruction, I just swallowed a fly. What the hell, dude? It just flew into my mouth. If you look at the talents, and people are gonna have a misconception here that I wanna clarify immediately, is that people think that's gonna make it so crits are 100% damage, because Ruin here, this gives you 100% modifier on your crit, except this only affects Destruction, right? So this will only affect Immolate. That's it. So no, for most of your crits, for all your other dots, there is only Immolate, that is a Destruction spell. All the others are Affliction or Demonology. So that means that we are maybe not gonna see a Warlock going Destruction anymore. But anyway, about the math, right? So this right here means that every time you crit, it's gonna do 50% extra damage, because it's not affected by the extra damage from Ruin, like we said. So that means that for every 2% of crit that you get, you're gonna get 1% more damage on average. Of course, guys, I cannot really predict what crit Warlocks are gonna have in the next phase, okay? But if you look at the logs on this phase, they are doing about 30% crit, which is kinda nutty. So if we look at that, this rune right here is gonna make it so our dots are gonna do, on average, 15% extra damage. That is pretty significant. Is it significant enough to make it so you gotta go Affliction 100% of the time? Not, probably not. There is probably a lot of situations where Destruction makes more sense still, because Destruction scales very well. So that's it for this one. Let's talk about the other ones. Now this one, Backdraft, is gonna make it so your Conflagrate, remember guys, Conflagrate, let's look at the talents right here. Conflagrate is the keystone talent of Destruction, and as you can see right here, it consumes your Immolate, which is not a huge deal. Like if it were to consume all your dots, that would be a problem. But consuming your Immolate is just like one more cast of Immolate, is not a huge DPS loss. I was kind of expecting people to go Conflagrate this phase, but no, most people were aiming to get the improved Dimp talent instead. However, like you can see right here, Conflagrate gives you 30% spellcasting haste. Now if you look at Conflagrate, you have a 10-second cooldown on it, and this right here is gonna give you the 30% haste every 10 seconds. So ideally, if you time it perfectly, you are gonna have exactly 100% uptime on the 30% haste. This, in my opinion, is much more significant than the 15% extra dot damage. Now this is gonna run through a Warlock's mana really fast, and as you know, life tapping is a DPS loss, so we might even see some sort of strategy where a Warlock is getting innervates, believe it or not, just so they can crank out the Conflagrate and the spells really fast like they're doing. This thing right here should be one of the hardest scaling things in the game. I don't even know how this got into the game. If I were to guess, guys, this 30% right here is gonna get nerfed to hell. 30% is way too much. For the sake of an example, every time you do 10 spells, you get 3 spells for free just because you can cast faster. Even refreshing Immolate after you Conflagrate is gonna be a good idea now, because it's gonna be fast, so it's gonna be a lot of damage anyway. It's not gonna be a huge DPS loss to have to refresh it more often. Also, you have to refresh Immolate on your own anyway, so this is only just helping you. You have to refresh it a little more often, that's it. All the things that we know about Destruction, that it scales very well, that Lake of Fire is busted, that the Imp is busted because it scales with Lake of Fire, all those things are gonna be still here. So I think the Destruction Warlock is gonna still be overtaking in a lot of situations the Dot Warlock. The Dot Warlock got a big buff, but honestly, like assuming no mana issues, because this is gonna depend a lot on the healers that you get in the raid and the support that you are allowed to get in the raid, and if you get Shamanistic Rage and whatnot. But if this right here that you're seeing goes through, 30% haste is a lot stronger than 15% extra damage on your dots, okay? Most of your damage is not even dots, it's like half of your damage or something in Affliction anyway. And yes, haste will not affect your dots, it doesn't matter. We might even see like a dotless Warlock spec just spamming fire spells over and over and over and ignoring dots just to keep this up and just bumping as much as possible. Like, if you get 30% haste, you are gonna outscale pretty much any dot. Honestly, even spamming Incinerate over and over is probably, if you get 30% haste, is probably more damage than what you would lose from doing dots. So all that hybrid stuff or like planning to do a corruption and stuff, that's not gonna happen anymore. Curse of Agony dead, I guess. This is the other right here. This is Immolation Aura. As you guys know, if you played Rato the Lich King or onwards, the Demonology Warlock gets Immolation Aura. Immolation Aura is basically like a hellfire on the demon form. It's like an AoE around you. This is basically the same thing. It is like a hellfire that doesn't hurt you, okay? As a matter of fact, it reduces damage taken, magic damage taken by 10%. So this is an obvious Warlock tanking rune right here, but one thing that is interesting is it doesn't require a demon form. So honestly, if you are like a normal DPS Warlock and you're doing like a spell cleave or something like that, this is probably gonna be the best rune for you. 10% reduction of magical damage, and you can do like a good AoE without getting hit by your own hellfire. This is pretty tempting. But yes, so tank Warlocks are gonna get a lot of threat for free now, so we might see like a lot of AoE threat. As a matter of fact, as a warrior, I'm kinda jealous because we didn't get no AoE stuff like this. This is a really busted thing. This is like shaman levels of AoE threat right there. Now this right here for the braces is gonna be the Felguard. As you guys know, the Felguard is like the PvP pet. The Felguard came out in TBC. It's like a warrior pet that can charge similar to a board. So I think PvPers are gonna love the Felguard, like one addition to their toolkit. PvE wise though, it's a little more complicated. The Felguard has very good AoE damage because it has like a cleaving ability. So in AoE fights, Felguard is gonna be probably the rune to go in most specs. Also, one thing that you gotta remember, we do not know this yet, guys, but Demon Sacrifice, as you guys know, you can sacrifice your pet and you get a buff. If you look at the TBC, the Rato the Lich King version, all of that, the sacrifice of your Felguard is 10% extra shadow damage. So Demonology is a bit of a hybrid between Shadow and Fire in vanilla, but 10% more damage might make it tempting to go Shadow. Probably not. The problem is that you cannot really go what you wanna go. We're level 30, we got our Demon Sacrifice. Now if I wanna take Shadow talents, because I'm taking the Felguard buff right here, I'm gonna go to Affliction. I might go to Shadow Bolt actually, but let's take a look here at what we can actually get. We can get improved life tap, which is okay. We can get drain soul, probably not. We can take Curse of Weakness. I mean, some raids like Curse of Weakness, and we don't see it much. Improved drain life, probably not. We're gonna be taking suppression right here for the 10% hit, and I don't know, Nightfall, because the procs gives you like free shadow bolts, for example, right here. You may be looking at a build that looks something like this at level 50. I do not think it is strong enough. At level 60, okay, phase 4, we might see a Shadow Warlock come online, because you can take 2 points in Nightfall, then you can go and take something like the improved Shadow Bolt right here. You can even take Bane for faster cast and everything. And this right here, this is very similar now to the TBC Shadow Bolt spamming Warlock. That's a pretty nasty Warlock. Is it gonna outscale Fire? I don't know, we gotta predict 2 phases worth of runes to see that happening, but no. In phase 3, I do not see people going Felguard, at least not for the Felguard buff. We might see something where like you're playing a spec that doesn't really care about what pet you have. That used to be the Succubus, for example. People that were doing a talent build that didn't really benefit any type of pet. The Succubus had the most base damage. The Felguard is probably gonna be the highest base damage pet right now. At least definitely AoE, it is gonna be the pet to go. And the last rune we're gonna be taking a look here, this is from Rato the Lich King, Unstable Affliction. This used to be a keystone talent. Shadow energy slowly destroys the target, causing some damage over 15 seconds. In addition, if the Unstable Affliction is dispelled, it is going to cause a lot of damage to the dispeller and silence them for 5 seconds. According to Pandemic, if we take Pandemic and this can actually crit, so that's good news. And I cannot really tell how much damage this is gonna do because the scaling formula, the spell power scaling is not here. This is the base damage. It looks like it's gonna do decent damage, I cannot tell you. Unstable Affliction is more of a PvP thing. It is very good to put people in a situation of lose-lose, where like if you're in a BG, for example, there's a lot of chaos, you throw this into somebody and maybe the priest in their group tries to dispel it because they think it's bad or something, and boom, he gets silenced. And it also does a lot of damage. It's the same, it's the offensive counterpart to Life Bloom. Why were druids, resto druids, so broken in TBC arenas? Same reason, because people tried to purge the Life Bloom, and like if they did that, it just gave them a big ass heal. At the same time, if you didn't purge the Life Bloom, they just got a free heal. So it was a lose-lose situation. This is the same in offensive form. I do not expect it to perform very well in PvE. Some people might take it, but this is a PvP talent right here. So closing thoughts right here. There is only like 2 runes that really matter here. Demon, Tank, Warlocks are getting AoE threat now, so they are gonna be even better. They are pretty decent already. Meta Warlocks are very cool, so we are gonna see more of that. At the same time, the haste with Conflagrate, that means Fire is gonna be by far still the strongest one. Shadow, resting pepperonis, not even close. And they are probably gonna remain very annoying in PvP, but like that would have happened no matter what they did. I mean, it's a Warlock. There is no way to make it not annoying in PvP. It's a freaking Warlock. Nobody likes to fight in a Warlock. What class do you want me to break down next? Subscribe, leave a like, join the Discord, and thank you for watching.